We have one last Brave speaker for the evening, and I really hope that this is not the last Brave talk that we'll share together as a community. I want to invite our last speaker, Jake Biggs, to the stage. Jake's story really is one of hope and optimism in the face of setback after setback. Jake was diagnosed with anorexia at 15 years old and spent the next 10 years in and out of hospital. But this wasn't to be the only health-related struggles that Jake would face. And yet, with a big smile and an important message, Jake is here to share his remarkable story of recovery and resilience. Please welcome Jake.
It's the 20th of September, 4:56 p.m. I'm at my Bondi Junction apartment, staring at the laptop screen. I get an email that I don't think any Jewish 29-year-old male would ever receive. It's from the Qatari government. Dear Jake, you have been confirmed with Daniel John Biggs at the Al-Qadasi Al-Mundasa apartments on the 22nd of November to the 2nd of December. It also read that you have been granted a higher passport. Didn't know one existed. At the same time, I went and ran into my phone, and then I got a text message. Couldn't ring my dad, couldn't ring my twin sister, couldn't ring anyone. It was a text message from a family friend, Jay Bulkin, who has just had 2 beautiful twins. And I remember it so clearly. It said, Dear Jake, my cousin Talia Rabinovich, I said, well, sounds Jewish, has organised an event on Thursday, the 17th of November, Brave Talks, where members of the Jewish community are going to share their story about mental health. And whether you would be interested, I can set you up as an introduction. Now, beyond the hysterica I had with about to go to the World Cup, what was really interesting for me is that I made a decision straight away that I would say yes. And that was only 2 days before that I had made the decision to myself that I would never, ever, ever relive the memories that I had from ages 15 to 25. So what made me think very carefully was what made it so quickly that I made that decision. And why it was that I know that now that 1 million Australians are suffering from some type of eating disorder. Now, if I could share my story and help even one person, I would do that. Everyone that knows me knows that I'm a very timid person. I don't like to boast. I don't like to be arrogant. And that was one of the biggest fears that I had coming today, that I was going to share my story and I was going to be boasting about my recovery, my progress. But I said, you know what? If I can help somebody, anybody, all the millions of viewers that are going to be watching on demand my video, most importantly, that is going to be the right thing for me. When I was growing up, I loved life, loved it. Was with my family, would go away together, skiing, soccer, my 2 best friends, Robbie Leach, Dale Borowski. I just loved life. I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't even know what poor eating was. Didn't know anything. All I knew was having fun. We'd go away, we'd watch basketball overseas. I love skiing. Even I had a very, very funny story that with my mum that I only had a couple of days ago when we were at a Sydney FC game, where she informed me that holidays were amazing for her, but not so much on the plane. I was on the plane going to Los Angeles. I wasn't a good sleeper. And she had informed me that she sat next to me on a plane and played blackjack with me for 8 hours while my dad was sleeping, my twin sister was sleeping, and mum was there with me. And why do I share that story today? Because when I think of it back then, and where I am now, when looking back, I can't even recollect any time that I would go away. The only time that I felt when I was going away was going to a hospital. It all started to me in around 2007. I cannot recall exact dates, and that's actually a really good thing for me. People said to me, "Why don't you write a book, Jake? Why don't you do this? Why don't you journal?" And I said, "No, I don't want to do any of that because I don't want to recount those times." But what I do remember at those times was there's a few things that were sort of bombshell moments for me. And one of some bombshell moments was that I was getting quite bullied, physically and mentally. I was very shy. I wasn't able to tell anyone about that. And at that time, with my personality, my life started to unravel very, very quickly. Before I knew it, I was off to a hospital. Now, I had no idea what a hospital was. The only hospitals that I knew was in Grey's Anatomy, where my twin sister and mum were watching every single weekend, McDreamy, McSteamy, Meredith Grey. I had no idea where I was going. All I knew that I was quite ill, and the doctor said to me, to my family, "Jake needs to go to hospital." So I remember someone driving me there, don't recollect the exact person. I arrived at the Sydney Children's Hospital in Randwick. Went into the entrance, no idea. Nurses were there, doctors were there. They wanted me to take my blood pressure, heart rate, ECG. I was in fear, complete, utter fear. Little did I know that this was going to be something that was going to be entrenched in my life over years and years and years. This wasn't something that I was going to go there for one day and leave. I do recollect very vivid memories of those times. And I'm hoping to share some stories today as a way of expressing how I felt at those times and how that could be shared with others. The first thing, remember the story that I have, was one that it was probably into maybe my first or second year of my severe condition, where I was at a hospital. I don't recollect the exact location of the hospital, but I was critically ill. My heart rate was extremely, extremely low, and I was on the verge of dying. I lay there in the bed, could barely even think that my brain was that starved. I had no even energy to even think. Little did I know that I overheard in my left ear, I remember very clearly, two nurses, one Irish and one English, strong accents. They said to each other, "I don't think Jake is going to wake up the next day." Now, with me being around 17 to 18, when I heard those two nurses say that, I actually fell to pieces. I wasn't able to see anyone at that time. I was so ill. And when those two nurses said that to me, when I went to sleep that night, I said, "Jake, you're not going to wake up the next day." And I was so sad. I couldn't get any help, no psychological help. Things were so bad for me. Little did I know that I did wake up the next day, but unfortunately things continued to go on and on and on. I went to hospital to hospital. I didn't even know where I lived. I didn't know what Streetfield Road, Bellevue Hill was anymore, because I was just this sort of Ferris wheel, just going from hospital to hospital. I didn't have an identity. I didn't even know who I was anymore. All I was known as the troublemaker, someone that was in the hospital making trouble for others. I was known, the security guards came to know me. That's when that was my first moment where the security guards got called to come to my room and detain me. And from that time on, things were very, very bad for me. I had a pivotal moment, I believe in the year of 2013, where the Australian hospital system could not cope with me. They'd never seen anything like this in an individual that was so risk-averse to any treatment. And I was granted an opportunity to go to the United States, to Los Angeles. And when I got this opportunity, it was one that was very overwhelming for me, because in the sense of how ill I was. But when I got this opportunity, I knew it may be the first time that I would get the help, the attention that I required for healing, for recovery. Now, probably no one knows this now, but they will know that what I was most looking forward to was going to see the Los Angeles Lakers, but not to go to an eating disorder program, but hopefully that would come later, which actually it did. But when I got to Los Angeles at that time, that was the first time in my life that I can say a sparkle went in my eyes, where I thought this might be the opportunity for me to get the psychological help that I require to manage my emotions, to manage my anxiety, to manage my eating. And that's exactly what happened. I was in Los Angeles. When I arrived at the unit under the Professor Michael Strober, I met the most amazing psychologist that I've ever seen in my entire life, who was someone that was very, very special to me. And that was one of the major things, take-home messages for anyone that I know with mental health, is the power of help, the power of support, of the mentoring. And what Danielle was able to provide to me was psychological strategies in order to manage my eating disorder, in order to manage my anorexia. And from that time on in the US, it was really a pivotal moment for me. It was really a time where I could say, I'm starting to grow. I'm starting to understand myself, starting to get help. Months went on. I was in the eating disorder program. It was a very life-changing experience for me. I got home. I wasn't fully recovered or any sort, but at least I had some more strategies to deal with. And then unfortunately what happened, another bombshell happened for me. A bombshell happened in the sense that it was more than a tsunami. I was at a gym, a Lift Performance Center in Redfern, sitting down on the chair, and I remember really clearly, I'd finished a set on the bicep curls, and I sat there and all of a sudden I had a seizure. And I had a seizure that felt that at that time, I believed at that time I was going to die, because someone was ripping my entire face apart that I had no idea what was going on. I fell unconscious. It was very difficult. Luckily, the people that were working at the gym were first aid trained, and there wasn't any broken bones. I just thought it was a freak accident. I didn't even know what was going on. I went there. The second day, the exact same thing happened. I said to myself at that time, what do I got to do? There's rapists out there, there's murderers, there's killers, and I'm going to get another condition. And that's exactly what happened. I was rushed off to the MRI scan, and I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And because at that time when I got the brain tumor, the doctors did not know how severe it was. It had to get operated on very quickly. And at this time, I was still malnourished. I wasn't at a healthy weight, which made it doubly as dangerous for me and as scary for me. And I recall another time where it was a pivotal moment for me, when I was getting into the operating theatre, wheeled in, and the doctor said to me, the anaesthetist said to me, Jake, you're going to sleep in 3-2-1. When I went to sleep in 3-2-1, I thought I'm going to die that time, because they were going to drill a hole into my brain and I'll still be awake. Of course, that didn't happen. From that time afterwards, I had to have radiotherapy treatment, 10 weeks of radiotherapy. I couldn't work, couldn't really walk. My energy was diabolical. And people ask me today, Jake, what was that time that made you want to put this all in the past? What made you say to yourself that you never want to end up in hospital again? And I can categorically say that it was not one thing. It was a few things. The first thing was actually me saying, after so many admissions, that I was going to say, enough is enough. I don't want this anymore. I don't want my life being in and out of a hospital, being dictated when I would walk, when I would move, what bed I was lying on, what chair I was in. I wanted to live my own life. I wanted to have a life. That life was deserved for people. To be happy, to be free, not to be bound by a hospital and a guardian. Another two things that really were clear to me, as I mentioned with Danielle, but another very important person to me was another personal trainer that I had, Andrew Young, who unfortunately has lost his mother quite recently. And he was someone who was another mentor for me, who was able to help me with my nutrition, helped me with my training, helped me with my mindset, which was another pivotal moment in where I was at that time. Now, where I stand today is actually quite insane. I'm speaking today in front of 200 people where I thought at 15 years of age I was going to be in a coffin. And I'm standing here today and things are so different. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. I'm still dealing with issues, but I can stand here today and know that I will never, ever be in a hospital again with my anorexia. Might be from my electric scooter, but that's another instance in itself. But what I can say is that I've been seizure-free for a very long time now. And next week, in only 4 nights' time, when I wake up, it's going to be 3 nights, is that I am going to Qatar. Now, I'm going to Qatar with my dad for the World Cup. When I think about it, 15 years of age, if I would ever say that I would even go away, I would never have believed it. I went to a Sydney FC game last week with my mum and I. I didn't ever think I would do that. I'm with friends. I didn't think I would ever do that. And a huge thing is happening to me next month, is that my twin sister is getting married, which is a huge thing. So, and such a special thing is happening tomorrow night that I was actually woke up today and could not believe that I was going to. There's a Shabbat dinner that the rabbi has invited my family and the Owen family, and I am going to that. I'm actually going to that where I thought about all those years ago where I was like, I'm going to be dead, but now I can actually be with my family. And what I do now is that throughout the time of the last 4 or 5 years, didn't really know what I wanted to study. I started a business management degree and I did a nutrition degree. At the time, it was obviously quite, sort of a big decision for me. What should I study? What should I do? I want to be a sport agent. I want to be the next Jerry Maguire, show me the money, but obviously couldn't do that. So I chose to do nutrition, which is a big decision. I was in and ahhing whether to do it or not. But I know I can categorically say now that was the best decision that I could ever make, because now what I can do is that I can speak in front of audiences. I can speak in front of conferences, sharing my story, but more importantly, the power of nutrition for cognitive performance and physical health. So I became a nutritionist last year and graduated in September last year as a clinical nutritionist. And I run my own business now, Nutrition Longevity with Jake Biggs, ching ching. And what I do now is that I actually help people every single day with their nutrition and helping them live a better life, a healthier life, a happier life, one that's disease, one that doesn't have the onset of medical conditions. I can really practice what I preach in helping people. So when I share this story today and I share the way that where I came from to where I am now, I suppose the main message that I wanted to leave anyone listening today or any of the viewers on demand is that however difficult you have of your mental health condition, I categorically believe that anyone, if they put their mind to something, they can achieve whatever they want. And I want to be a sort of a living, breathing example of that I thought that I was going to be almost in a coffin, and now I am today speaking in front of 200 people. Thanks for your time.